My wife, 32, and I, 33 male, are getting divorced. She filed for divorce due to a disagreement regarding paying for my parents' care. My wife and I were married for 14 years. During that time, my wife didn't need to work and my income was more than enough to sustain us and anything we wanted. Fast forward to the global issue. My father passed away and my mother suffered a stroke soon after. I chose to care for my mother because I have the income. My wife disagreed. I stood my ground and here we are now. According to my attorney, judges in our state tend to exercise their discretionary authority reasonably liberally. Off the record and in his opinion, stated in the aspect of fairness for my wife, I shouldn't contest the divorce and do it amicably, so end it quickly and fairly. When I asked what exactly the risks are if I contest it, in his opinion, given our county, judges and her reason for divorce, my wife will be hard-pressed to garner much, if any, goodwill, so she most likely will not be granted a court order that will force me to cover her legal fees, even if I contest the divorce, even considering the wage gap. In short, I would be contesting a divorce, forcibly drawing out a divorce to make my wife rack up legal fees that she would have to use her end of the settlement money to cover. Would I be the idiot for putting my soon-to-be ex-wife through the ringer? I would be lying if I said I'm not livid for her throwing away 14 years because I made the choice to pay for my mother's care. I already feel like an idiot supporting her for 14 years and not getting a prenup because it seemed we shared the same values and were in agreement. I don't know if it's spite, but I'm upset. Edit, no, we don't have kids. My mom is in care and I told my wife prior I would be caring for my parents if they needed the help. I'm an only child and a later-in-life baby. She was on board then, but as time went by, according to her, people change. To be honest, she got the raw end of the deal because I have a job and she has a 14-year blank spot in her resume. I will have a far easier time rebuilding my life post-divorce than she will. Yes, you would obviously be the idiot. To yourself. Divorce attorneys will be the only winners. You will just be paying the lawyers to buy a new fancy car. Just be happy and walk away. You're giving this revenge plot too much of your time and emotion. I understand the desire for revenge. It's like looking at 14 years get flushed. If you contest it, it will be on your mind until it's done. It's time to move on mentally and emotionally. Punish her by living well and enjoying your life. I agree. If you draw it out, you'll end up paying more in legal fees for your side. Your lawyer can advise that it's unlikely that you will have to cover her side, but they can't guarantee it, so if you rack up the fees and then it's decided that you'll have to pay her fees too, you will feel like an idiot. Cut your losses, get out and move on. Spite over this will cause both of you needless stress and harm. It just seems so pointless and crappy. Yeah, it's the epitome of cut your nose to spite your face. Lawyers love these people, judges not so much. OP, your mom is dying. She needs your help. You have finite energy. The more you feed the fire of revenge, the colder your mother will be. Focus your life, energy, and money on the end of hers. Fill her life with love, support, and comfort. As for paying her way for 14 years, that was a mutual decision too. Don't play revisionist history and get angry about it now. Take the easy way out and get on with your life. My wife D, 28, and I, 27 male, recently had our first baby, Almond. It wasn't an easy delivery, but she's recovering and we're both back to work. That's neither of our first choices, but it was necessary to help because of our financial situation. My wife has a sister, Cecilia, 21, who lives about 12 hours away with their parents. My wife and her sister are from a culture heavily emphasizing intergenerational households and certain postpartum rituals. Because it was important for my wife to have family support, we all agreed Cecilia would stay with us for a bit to help with the baby. I expected her to stay for a few weeks, but we're going on 4 months and my wife and I recently argued about how much longer she'd stay. Cecilia attends college virtually and has no job. She's home all day. She cooks, cleans, watches the baby and is overall great. The only problem is I want to be doing those things. Call it toxic masculinity, but when I imagined having a child, I thought it would be us working together, not us and her sister. Cecilia has a bath waiting for my wife when she gets home, only considers her preferences when cooking meals, and handles most of the night duties unless Armand needs to be fed. I've told her twice to please wake me when the baby cries. She's told me that she won't unless I move to the guest bedroom because my wife needs to get rest. I told my wife I want her out of the house by the end of the month, but she thinks it's a terrible idea. Without Cecilia, we are entirely without support. I suggested 1 week on, 1 week off until 6 months, but she says that's too long of a drive to ask her sister to make. I feel like I never get to be alone with my wife and child. Edit, I'm a heavy sleeper. I can do those things during the day, and do, but sometimes I'd like to cook a meal for my wife or taste my wife's cooking, and Cecilia only cooks certain foods like soup, especially for nursing mothers, which feels weird for me to eat. I'm a man, so I feel uncomfortable eating food meant to stimulate breastfeeding and uterus recovery. We don't really pay anything for Cecilia. Because Dee's parents can't be there to help, they send us about $100 a week that covers groceries and some formula. Cecilia cooks with that money, but I guess she uses some of it for soap and whatever because we haven't bought anything for her besides a few appreciation gifts my wife picked out. No idiots here. I understand where you're coming from, but have you considered how much your sister-in-law saves you both on childcare expenses? That crap's expensive. There could be a happy medium if there was better communication. A session with a counsellor to mediate and ensure everyone is heard would be helpful. Maybe she could have designated off days where she does her own thing. Nah, dude, this isn't about the sister-in-law being there, it's about OP wanting his wife to be a stay-at-home mom. They can't afford daycare while they work, so if sister-in-law leaves, the wife will have to quit her job and stay at home. His wife doesn't want to be a stay-at-home mom. Instead of figuring that out, he's trying to force it by getting rid of their free childcare so she won't have a choice. You are the idiot, OP, and that's not how you make these decisions. It's worse than that. OP says they both have to work because of financial situations. With an extra mouth to feed, their financial situation won't get better, so the wife still has to work. He doesn't want a stay-at-home mom, he wants a full-time working wife, and on top of that, come home and do just about all of the housework and childcare, and he will pitch in when he feels like it, which means he will do just a little bit of work. Cecilia is doing you a tremendous favour. How about this? You book sister-in-law a week-long vacation as a thank you. See how difficult it is without her. Then thank her profusely. My daughter Ella, 26, is a doctor. She works very hard and is very talented. She spent most of her life with her mother but took up a position at a hospital near me and so moved in with me. She doesn't own a car currently, but I've insured her to drive mine so she can use it to get to work. Ella worked many continuous 12-hour shifts and finally got a day off today. She's exhausted but had an errand to run. She ordered a new pair of designer trainers, but neither of us was home when they arrived, so they were left at a delivery centre nearby for her to collect. There's a bus stop about a 5-minute walk from my place, and the bus stop's outside the delivery centre. It's about a 20-minute journey. Ella asked if she could borrow the car to pick up the shoes. I said no. I only use the car to get to work if I carry many things. I don't use the car anywhere within walking distance or a short journey on public transport. Ella got upset and argued that she was too tired and on her feet all day for several days. She said she's not the sort of person who uses public transport. Her mother and their family are extremely well off. Ella went to a very prestigious private school. Unfortunately, they also have certain attitudes towards people not as fortunate, one of which is that public transport is used by unsuccessful people. When she talked about not being the sort of person who uses it, I said that she needs to get that snobby private school attitude out of her head if she wants to get anywhere in life. She swore at me and stormed off, but did go on the bus to get the shoes. While she was gone, Ella's mother called me, shouting at me for making our daughter's life difficult and accusing me of trying to hold her back, etc. She said I should show that I care that she's worked so hard at the hospital. I accept that I shouldn't have said the private school comment, but Ella isn't so tired that she can't brave a 5-minute walk to the bus stop. I don't want her to be reliant on the car when there are other ways to get where she needs to go. Am I the idiot? She needs to get that snobby private school attitude out of her head if she wants to get anywhere in life. She's a doctor, you moron. She's already gotten somewhere in life. Her attitude towards people who take public transportation might suck, but she's an adult who can take responsibility for her own actions. If her attitude comes back to bite her later on, that's her problem, not yours. She asked for the car because, as an adult who makes adult decisions, she chose to drive to pick up her package after a long day at work. You're treating her like a spoiled teenager who needs to be put in her place. You are the idiot. She's a doctor who has a condescending attitude about other people. She's certainly gotten somewhere in life where that attitude can have terrible outcomes for people left in her care. And as an adult who makes adult decisions, she can get her own car if she wants to drive to get that package. Being an adult who makes adult decisions doesn't mean the car isn't OP's and he doesn't get to choose when it's used. Oh, and this lady called her mom because her dad wouldn't let her use the car. She's not a doctor, she's a child. OP's not the idiot. I disagree. She called her mom because her mom knows what an idiot her dad is and is the right person to commiserate with. No matter how snobbish Ellie's comments sounded, a doctor who works multiple 12-hour shifts helping people deserves some comfort on her rare day off. Public transport is uncomfortable. It takes time to walk there, to wait for it, depending on the timetable, and then do it again on the way back. Strangers on the bus can be loud, rude, smelly, make inappropriate comments, or try to touch you. Nothing would have happened to your precious car should you allow your daughter, a hard-working medical professional, to take a short ride on her day off. My husband, male 35, and I, female 34, were recently at my sister's 40th birthday party, which was quite big. Many family and friends were there, many of whom we hadn't met before. As the evening drew on, many people with young children left, but by midnight there were still a few teenagers around by the time the party was wrapping up. My sister has 2 teenagers, female and male, and they'd all stuck together most of the night, so I hadn't interacted with many of them. That said, while lending my sister a hand and helping clean up, I overheard a conversation between my niece and another boy, 18. He was encouraging her to take some of the leftover alcohol before the adults noticed, and my niece repeatedly told me that she didn't want to. At this point, I will not lie, I was absolutely eavesdropping because it seemed to be getting worse and worse by the second. They thought they were quiet and not drawing attention, but didn't anticipate me standing where I could hear them. I decided to step in when the boy told my niece that she could cop a feel if she took some of the alcohol, and he would show her a good time later. My niece said, "Ew, gross." I walked over and told the boy how dare he speak to someone like that. He looked like a deer in headlights when he realized I'd overheard the whole thing and kept stuttering, but I told him that he still had a lot more growing up to do if he thought any of what he said was okay. I told him that he should be ashamed of himself for showing so much disrespect to my niece. I said that she'd already told him that she didn't want to take the drinks, and to try to pressure her and bargain with intimacy was a horrible thing to do. I hadn't noticed, but the boy's dad, 37, had come over while I was talking and said that I had no right to discipline his child and that his son had done nothing wrong besides being a teenager. He said that I'd emasculated his son in front of a peer and I was shaming him for having urges which are normal for his age group. He started to raise his voice at me when he asked who I thought I was, which is what attracted the attention of my husband and the rest of the party. My husband told him to back off and not speak to me in that way, which is when my sister basically threw us all out and called me an embarrassment. She subsequently texted me saying that I wasn't welcome again until I apologized to the boy and his father, and her whole birthday was ruined because I had to stick my nose where it didn't belong. She said the boy's dad was her co-worker and I'd made her work life a nightmare when it wasn't my place to say anything from the beginning. I'm now starting to feel quite bad. Was I the idiot? So wait. Your sister was upset that you disciplined a teenager trying to pressure her daughter to steal alcohol because he was a coward to do it himself, and at one point suggested inappropriate favors for doing so, and she kicked you, her sister, from the party for making comments to a teenager about it, and the dad excused his son's behavior and your sister was okay with it. Wow, unless your sister has an affair with that boy's dad, I have no clue why she took his side or doesn't care that her daughter was exposed to such crap in her own party. Your sister is a terrible mother to your niece. You are not the idiot at all. That boy needs to be embarrassed. It's evident why he behaved the way he did. Apple falling, tree close. He certainly wasn't going to be disciplined at home. In fact, you are so not the idiot that I'm issuing a public thank you for your service to the community and your niece. That child is 18. At that point, it's not disciplining a child, it's calling out bad behavior. An adult's bad behavior. The sad thing is that his behavior will most likely not be corrected. He just saw his dad defending him with the "teenagers have urges, it's all normal" thing. I hope that young man will encounter more adults like OP in his life to call him out on his BS to counter the bad parenting done at home. My 28 male background. In the house I grew up in, everyone would eat whatever food my parents made and be thankful for it. I can't recall anything tasting bad, but even foods I don't like, I would just not eat and never modify them. It's just the way it's always been. I can't even imagine one of my siblings doing it to my parents, or my parents doing it to one another. Back to my girlfriend, 24. I love her very much. Still, sometimes she does strange things to food that makes me feel unappreciated for whatever reason I can't explain. For instance, I bought protein bars coated in dark chocolate. I shared them with her. Later, I saw a bunch of them naked in a plastic bag. She'd cut off the coating and leave the center. She said she doesn't like the center, but the chocolate's tasty. I suggested I buy her dark chocolate since this is a waste, but she says that she likes that specific chocolate and I could eat the center if I'd like. No, I don't want to eat just the center. I want to enjoy the entire protein bar. Another example from today is that I made chicken curry. She had it before and she said she really liked it. Today, I walked into her washing the cooked chicken bits and rinsing them in water. I was really confused. She started laughing and said, "Don't look at me." I didn't find it funny, it was quite offensive. It was a waste of food and just disrespect to my cooking. This started an argument which led to her crying. She has the right to eat her food however she wants, but this doesn't change the fact that I find it upsetting when she wastes food and messes with my cooking. I asked her how she would feel if I did the same with her cooking, to which she responded, "I'd want you to enjoy the food in the way you like it." So, am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Washing the what of the chicken curry? The only way that would even be remotely considered a normal thing to do is if she has some intolerance or allergy to it, and it doesn't seem like that is the case here. I've never seen anyone wash the spice off a curried meat, unless they were feeding it to a toddler who wanted the same meal as the family, in which case it would be pretty normal in the interests of avoiding a tantrum, etc. I'm stuck on how she wasted OP's money by scraping off the chocolate for herself and leaving naked granola bars for him as if she did him a favour. That's beyond not appreciating the cost of things in my opinion. It's not caring about OP's feelings at all. After all, she thinks it's perfectly fine to waste his food and leave him scraps because she believes she's entitled to taking the best parts for herself. Unreal. This is a red flag. This is the mark of an utterly self-centered person. At 2 years old, you expect this behavior. By 24, a person should have some empathy for the other people around them and behave accordingly. Dude, run. Or spend your life surviving on scraps, and I don't just mean food. All your needs will be fulfilled with leftovers, if at all.